My Little Red Book is a collection of first period stories from women and girls around the world. It's a guide, it's a book of stories, and I like to think that it's a little companion. The reason that I started working on My Little Red Book was because my first period was a total disaster. I was alone with my widowed grandfather. I was water skiing, and worst of all was that I didn't tell anyone about it. And in retrospect, I really wish that I could have had a book like this to let me know that a dialogue really helps, and that also just that I wasn't alone. This book is for a lot of people. It's for mothers, it's for confused dads, it's for curious brothers and sisters, but most of all it's for teenage girls who have just gotten or are about to get their first period, because that's when no one talks about it, and that's when it matters most. My favorite story is actually the one that got the whole project started. After I got my first period, my mom decides to send out a massive email to all the women in the family, letting them know that I became a woman over spring break. Of course, she doesn't tell me, and as you can imagine, the next family reunion was a total nightmare. Everyone was talking about it, making cheers, pinching my cheeks, and I had no clue what was going on. And my great aunt, who senses my embarrassment, takes me aside and tells me the story that really changes everything. It turns out that she got her period while she was fleeing Nazi Poland and going to France. She took a train, a midnight train that was crossing the German border, and as they crossed the border, the train was stopped and all the women were strip searched. And it was my aunt's turn. She was standing there naked in the cold, and she gets her period. And it ended up sparing her from the examination. Beyond the power of the story itself, what really hit me was the fact that she had never told anyone before that night. So she had kept that story to herself for 50 years. And I thought to myself, if you can keep a story like that secret for so long, imagine all the other stories out there that are just waiting to be told. Well, you see, periods really do have a lot to teach us. In fact, I would say that how a girl reacts to her first period really does say a lot about her character. If, she thinks that she's dying and needs to call an ambulance, which actually happens, a few contributors have written that, she's probably a little overdramatic. As for what I've learned, personally, the process of collecting these stories and talking about my own first period has really shown me that embarrassment fades, especially if you deal with it with a sense of humor. So looking back and laughing has helped so much. 5 years ago when I started collecting these stories, I never would have thought that I could write a book about it, let alone talk about it on screen, without even blushing. So I'm donating all of the royalties of this book to charity because there is so much more that needs to be done. There are more girls out there than this book can reach, and there's a lot more than periods that girls need to know about to feel comfortable with themselves. And lastly and most tangibly, for some girls out there, periods are a physical handicap, like girls in rural Africa, for example. For them, they don't have access to the sanitary supplies that they need. So hopefully My Little Red Book will help make a little change in the world. Periods aren't my whole life, I promise. There's a lot that I like to do outside of it. Mainly, I really like to cook. And I'm actually going to culinary school to pursue that, so tarts and pastries all day, every day. So good. And I also like to do a lot of writing. So that's creative writing, poetry, prose, song lyrics for when I play my ukulele. And lastly, I really love traveling. And I'm actually taking a gap year right now before going to college to do all of these things and see the world.